Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're at. Today, we are going over our third session for our Portus Lunch and Learns. Today, we are going to do purchasing and inventory control. If you guys have any questions throughout the event, you can throw them into the question box and we'll be happy to answer any of them. If you think of any afterwards, you can contact any single one of us here at PeopleSense. You can contact Jim Castellano, myself, Jessica Canellis, or your made to manage account person, James Cooey. So now I will go ahead and kick it over to Bill from Portus so we can dive into today.
Okay. Can you see my slide here, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you everyone for spending the next 30 minutes with us. This is the third in our series of webinars about Portus, our business intelligence and reporting application that plugs into Made to Manage. Some just quick background information. We are a 16-year-old company, and we have some elements to our secret sauce that make us very special. We are a software company, but all of us come from a manufacturing background. So we have walked in your shoes and have dealt with the issues that you're dealing with from a reporting perspective on a first-hand basis. And on top of that, we've been building on top of Made to Manage for 14 years now. So we have a huge library of functionality that is deployed in production settings in companies just like yourself. So it has really been kicked and become industrial strength in terms of being a viable and accurate reflection of your business. What do we do? In one wordy sentence, we provide curated real-time analytics with continuous drill downs into more levels of detail delivered in an easy-to-use browser-based application. The two keywords here, curated, means everything is very carefully orchestrated based on our manufacturing expertise and our made-to-manage expertise. All of the analysis is real-time, meaning it has a real-time link to your underlying made-to-manage database, and then we are able to give you continuous drill down so that you peel the onions slowly and are able to get the full scope of whatever it is that you're looking for. And we provide this to you in a very easy to use browser-based application. In fact, as I'm going through the demo today, please think about this. You should be concluding that, hey, I don't need a training manual. I can get started with this immediately. We have two audiences in mind. Well, in the audience, we may have existing Portus customers. That's more of this is a quick training session for them, but for prospective customers, it allows you to skip the sales and marketing and answer just one question. Do I see enough to ask for a personalized demo where I can have my own Q&A with the Portus team and find out some things that maybe they didn't cover but are important to us? And then this is a lunch and learn. So if you attend the entire session here, the lunch portion is going to be a Starbucks gift card that we're going to send you soon after the session concludes. Now, real quick before we go into it, in terms of our sales process, so through some kind of outbound communication, you've agreed to attend the webinar. After the webinar, you may opt into a demo to really dive deep into the application and ask a bunch of questions. If it looks good from there, we offer a free 30-day trial, because until you see this with your own data, you're not going to know whether it really is going to make a difference. And from day one, because we've walked in your shoes and we don't like people forcing us into long-term commitments, Portus commitments are monthly. So really what I tell customers is after the free trial, we're on a paid trial on a month-to-month basis. So if we're not earning our wings, you can cancel. So all you have to do today is answer one question. Do I see enough to move from this little bar to this bar and ask for a demo? And you can route that through PeopleSense and we'll get that going for you. Okay, let's dive into the webinar. I'm going to move very quickly and still probably cover 10% of everything you can do in here in terms of purchasing and inventory optimization. So Portus is organized in a series of tabs across the top. Clicking on a tab opens various reporting options on the left-hand toolbar. You also notice that I logged in, so you can control who has access to what here. But since we're talking about purchasing, we're going to start with the PO log report, which is mostly used as an open PO report, but can be used to look at historical POs. We're going to go ahead and run it on an open PO basis, and it's going to go, while that wheel is spinning, it communicated with a demo made to manage database that we have for demo purposes, and it's come back with 3,261 lines of open purchase orders. We see all kinds of information: who is the vendor, who is the buyer, and we go through, and we'll get through a lot of these columns because this is a good takeoff point for us. As you know, Made to Manage has purchasing categories, and a lot of times people will say, I'm not looking at consumables. I really want to study things that I'm actually buying to inventory or buying to a work order or sales order. So we've limited it that way for now. Let's say that we're about to have a conversation with a particular vendor. Maybe DigiKey is coming in. So I'm going to say, go find DigiKey in my vendor dropdown and give me their information. So now that I see that, I can do some analysis of this. I'm going to go all the way over to the right here and see that we have 148,000 or so on order with DigiKey across 563 line items. And quantity-wise, we're expecting a little bit over 1 million units of parts across various part numbers. For every one of the lines, I see the original promise date and the latest promise date. Maybe I want to talk to DigiKey about past due POs. So I'm going to come in here and say, show me all POs where the last promise date is less than or equal to today, being March 18th. Actually, I should have done less than, because maybe it'll still arrive today, so I'll make it less than. And so I have a hit list of 35 PO line items I can talk to them about. I may want to just export this to Excel real quick and send it off to them in an attachment and say, hey, DigiKey, please let me know what's going on with that. So it'll open up in an Excel spreadsheet, and it's got full column and row integrity. I can add my own information about it and send it off to them. I'll go ahead and close that for now and get back to our presentation. Now let's go to something where we've received some quantities on. So there's other drills you can do here. This PO was for 100 pieces of our part number. There's the part number, there's the description. And I want to know about these receipts. So if I click on that 30, I'm going to see the actual receiver and then the invoice that was off of that receiver from DigiKey. And you can see even the invoice is blue and underlined so that I can click on it and see what does that invoice look like. So that was an invoice that had a lot of line items, and we ended up fully paying it, so there's nothing remaining on it. So that's another drill you can do off of this because you're researching payment items. Any one of these POs is also drillable into the PO detail report. So the PO detail report says, here's my purchase order, show me all the line items, and then show me quantities and what I ordered and when they were supposed to get here and when they were received. And of course, clicking on any of these receipts will take me again to the PO receipt detail screen. And I can just X out and I'm back to where I was. So now I'm going to go a step further. This time I'm going to clear the filter on the vendor, and I'm going to say, well, I'm a particular buyer. I want to look at my purchase orders. So I'm going to say, I'm Tracy, and do I still have that? Yeah, I'm going to remove this filter here on the promise date. And I'm going to look through here and see a really nice logical column we've added. This you will not see in normal open PO reports, but we've also looked through sales order and work order requirements and applied whatever was in stock and determined what is the first time that a particular job is dependent on this purchase order. So for example, if you look at this third part here in the third row, it says, hey, right now this is being promised on 5/15, but the first time I need it is on March 26th. So this would, immediately make me think I got to go do something about that. In fact, if you click on the part number that is all about, you're going to go to what is by far the most used screen in Portus. This is everything you ever wanted to know about a part number. We've gone over this in all of our previous sessions because it's such a mainstay. Anytime there's a part number in Portus, you click on it, you get into more levels of detail, and you see all of this information about the part. And here, we specifically see that we have 2 on hand, and we have 9 work orders that require this part for a total demand of 2,500. The first one of these is on 3/26. So clearly the 2 that we have on hand is not going to cover the 600 that we need. And then we see the first PO in line is not getting here until 5/15. So right from here, that tells me, okay, I want to go take a look at that and see what's going on. And the previous screen already highlighted that to you as a problem. Now, then I want to go through, maybe even on the previous screen, you saw these bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and click on this bubble and make a note. This is a key functionality in Portus. These notes are not stored in Made to Manage, but in the sister database that is part of our installation that allows you to just record key information about elements. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note about this part number. I'm going to say customer has asked to stop any new orders for this part as it will be replaced in the next, thank God for the spell checker, in the next 2 days. So I'm just going to make this comment about this part, and I'll go ahead and remember I got here because I saw the part and said, oh, I want to know more about this part. So now if I click on this, I'm going to see that red means there's a comment that is less than a week old about that part. In fact, if I go ahead and rerun this open PO report as a whole, and then again, as I did before, to limit this to only Tracy, because I'm only looking for Tracy's orders, if you will, I will not see that here because we don't show the bubble for the part. We show it if you make a note about that line item. But again, if you click on here, you're going to see that. And let's remember that the job that had the issue was job number II665 that needed the units on 3/26, but the PO wasn't arriving until 5/15. So let's say completely separate from this, somebody, a planner, maybe the buyer is wanting to run the job shortage report. Let me look at that one more time. I forgot the job already. II665 wants to look at the job shortage report for there it is, 665. And this is a report that it would take too long for me to go over. This is a very powerful piece of functionality in Portus that looks at real-time analytics of job shortages and allocates on-hand inventory and purchase orders. But basically now somebody else has the benefit of the note that you just wrote on here and can see that as they're studying the job shortages. So there's very good integration between the reports so that as you add intelligence, it becomes available in relevant places elsewhere. So in this process, we have run through the open PO report, and in effect, also I've shown you the PO detail report. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I can get to the PO detail report by running my open PO report and clicking on a clicking on a PO number. But if I'm already in a meeting and I go, hey, we got to know a lot more about this PO 061264, well, I can just go to the PO detail report itself, put it in, and then I can get to the same screen, if you will. Actually, this is a more optimized screen of the PO detail report. Similarly, you've actually already seen the part inquiry report. I've shown you that anytime you click on a part number, you get to all this great information in one place: item master information, on hand, shortages, open purchase orders, where used, all kinds of different things. But if I'm in a meeting and I want to know more about a particular part number, I don't need to go and find it somewhere on a report. I can just go to the part inquiry report as a menu item, put that part number in. And again, I'm going to get to the part inquiry screen right there, and I can do other things like, show me where I bought this in the past, and all kinds of different drills that are in here. So that is a quick blurb about the fact that we're actually hitting various menu items, even though we started with just the open PO report. Okay, so now let's move on to some other purchasing reports. Let's say now you want to come up 50,000 feet and you want to just look at your open POs more from a spending projection. So this report, which is in our family of pivot reports, allows you to look at your open POs and see by amount and by vendor right now where they fall in terms of looking ahead in the fiscal calendar. And then at some point it says, okay, everything else is beyond. Now this is showing this on a monthly basis. I can say, well, you know what? I actually want to see this by PO category and on a monthly basis rather than a quarterly basis. There you go. I can see it that way. Or I can say, I want to see it by part number. I want to see it monthly. I want to see units, not dollars. And I want to see it specifically for, again, my vendor DigiKey. So now if I filter there, I'm only seeing DigiKey open POs. I'm seeing units, not dollars. I can say, oh, no, wait a second. No, I want dollars. I want to see where I'm spending my money with these guys. And I get that. And then any number in here is drillable. So if I randomly say, hey, I wonder what it was that I spent, and what am I going to be spending money with in the remainder of March with them on this part, that is one PO. And we see the PO number and the part number and the quantity that is on order and the amount that is on order. So we clicked on 3673 and we got to the details of 3673. So the open PO pivot allows you to just slice and dice and look at your projected spending looking forward. Moving on, in more purchasing reports, let's talk about purchase price variances. If you use standard costing as your costing method, then purchase price variances are a key measure for how your purchasing organization is doing. So we'll first look at historical PPVs, and we'll just take the current month and say, go show me all the receipts in the current month. And for those receipts, and give me all these fields, I can slice and dice by vendor, by part number, whatever I want to do. Show me the PO price and show me the standard cost at the time of receipt. So this is a carefully curated report because you may have changed your standard cost since then, but the real PPV that hit the books was what was the standard cost at the time of receipt. So as you see here, we see various favorable. Here, the PO price is less than the standard cost. So the buyer did a good job buying it less than the standard cost. So that's a favorable PPV. If I want to do in descending order, I'm going to see some unfavorable PPVs. So here, our standard cost is $28, but we ended up paying $136 per unit. So that caused an unfavorable PPV. Here I notice, oh, wait a second, this part doesn't even have a standard cost, so I'm comparing it to 0. So I can say, I want to get that noise out of there. So I'm going to say, show me all items where the standard cost is greater than 0. I mean, I got to go fix that, but I don't want it to muddy the waters here. And then similarly, I may have PO prices that are at 0 for whatever reason. So I'm going to say also show me only records where PO prices are more than 0. And now I have truly comparable numbers here. These are all the unfavorables at the top because I've sorted it in descending order, or debits that hit the cost of goods sold because of these PPVs. And I see that in each case, we're talking about PO prices that are less than the standard cost. So looking at historical PPVs is looking at spilt milk. PPV open PO says, well, let me take a look at what I still have open out there, and it's coming in, and what is my standard cost and my unit cost, and where do I have favorable and unfavorable PPVs? Similar structure, except it compares it to the standard cost as of right now, because these have not been received yet, but we are projecting to receive them, and they will turn into PPVs. I'm going to now quickly switch topics as we talk about purchasing and inventory optimization. And I think I have time to go through two reports with you. The excess report is one that is used constantly by our customers. I'm going to just leave it on its standard options, although you can decide to look at excess over only the next 30 days demand, the next 90 days demand. That's what this drop down will do, but I'm going to just let the report run. And what this is going to show is all of the parts that you have on hand and all kinds of information about them: buyers, group codes, product classes, default locations, so you can slice and dice using our context menus, right? But what is it doing at the end? At the end, it gets you the actual standard cost, and then, or it could be actual cost if you use an actual costing system, and all depends on what we put in your profile as a customer. And then we see the total quantity on hand broken down between nettable and non-nettable. And the nettable piece, if this is a factor in your business, because Made to Manage allows it, you can have expired or unexpired inventory. If you don't have expiration control, everything will be under unexpired. And then we have how much is on order, and then we have the total demand in the system. So here, this first part is an interesting scenario in that we have a lot on hand, but almost all of it is in a non-nettable location, really ballooning our on-hand inventory. And since we only have 2,500 in demand, it's making the excess quantity on hand very big. And then the entire on order quantity is considered excess here if you include that. Well, I want to know more about that. What's going on with that? I will click on the part number, and I will see that, yeah, this is all sitting in MRB. So maybe I'm not as worried about this, but conservatively speaking, because all of this is valued at $2.07, I want to look at it from an excess perspective. I also have more on order, so if I can somehow rehabilitate some of this, it's better than having this on order. Maybe I can cancel those. Another way you can look at it is to say, okay, well, I still have 1.2 million that is excess on order. Let me take a look at that in descending order and see what's going on. So here you see a scenario where it says you've got 145 on hand, 16,580 on order, but your total demand is 13,440. Good news, none of that 145 is excess. Bad news, you've got $3,285 of this on order amount that is excess, and that's $13 of cost. So that is a pretty big hit of 42,000. Okay, I want to know more about that, what's going on with that. I can then again click on the part number and see what I have on order, what my demand is, and perhaps cancel maybe the last tranche of this or reduce it if I can. So that will allow you to optimize your excess inventory. Another report that's powerful from an inventory management perspective is actually under the finance tab. It's called our Days of Supply report. The Days of Supply allows you to calculate an inventory turn number for each individual part. In order to do that, it needs to calculate annual usage of that part. And there are many ways to calculate annual usage. We give you 8 ways to measure annual usage. Let's just take the default and say that we want an annual usage number that balances historical usage and projected usage in terms of work order and sales order requirements. And so we're going to take 90 days of historical usage, 90 days of demand, that's half a year, multiplied by 2, that's a full year. So I'm going to hit go here, and then it's going to go and do the same thing as we did with the excess report, go gather the inventory numbers, but now it's going to go get this usage information. So again, actually that part that was high on the excess list is high over here because this is sorted in descending order, and we do have a lot of those battery clips on hand. And then what we see here is the historical usage is 5. The future 90 days usage is 1,000. You add those two, that's 1,005. You're therefore multiply that by 2, you get an annual usage of 2010. Well, guess what? If your annual usage is 2010 and you have 654,000 on hand, your days of supply is insane, 117,000. We don't even calculate the terms. But let's move down over here to this third part where we have 244 historical usage, 388 of future usage. Add those two, multiply them by 2. That's our annual usage of 1264. 291 on hand means we have 83 days of inventory because we use 1,264 in a year and we have 200, that's 83 days worth, or a turns number of 4.34, and then you can kind of measure that for any part number and do analysis. If you see something that doesn't look right, other statistics here, like how dormant the part is, what was the last date received, last date issued, could be also helpful in further analyzing your inventory. And again, the key is that each time you can just drill to the part inquiry and see all of the details in terms of that part individually. I think I will stop there. I will just say that if I had 2 hours for this demo, I would go over the shortage report. I would give you more information about our material availability report, various spend trending reports, costed bill of materials. We have a very good, if you do have expiration, we have material expiration reports that you can look at for figuring out, hey, which lots are going to close. And then we have various reports on receiving and scrap so that you can optimize your receiving locations and also make sure that you're on top of scrap, which could also be inventory optimization / purchasing related. So if any of this piques your interest or looks like could be a good fit in your company, again, let's just do a demo and dive into this stuff a little bit deeper. And then always remember that we just kind of incrementally just move forward. A free trial, after that, a paid monthly trial for all practical purposes. So let me stop there. Jessica, are there any questions that have been posed by the audience?
There are not.
Okay. Well, if anybody has a question and want to get it in for this session, I'll be happy to stay a couple of more minutes. Go ahead and post it or let Jessica know. Or, as I said, the main decision you want to make is, does this look interesting enough for me to just get a bunch of people in a room and have Portus do a much fuller demo for us where we can stop them, ask them questions, or tell them, hey, this is what's more important to us. What do you have as it relates to this particular topic? We'd love to do that for you.
Yes. And you can always reach out to any one of us here at PeopleSense, and we will get you over to Bill and the team to answer any questions, get a demo scheduled, whatever it is you're looking for, and we will all be happy to help. So, looks like we are not getting any questions. So, everyone, thank you for attending, and we hope everyone has a good rest of their day. And if this sparks any interest, we're welcome to help you guys along with your journey with Portus. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.